Bring to us your poetry, from inspiration sought. Come join us with your images, your verses, words, and thought. From here, we'll share your balladry with those who do not know it. This platform's here for you to show the world that you're the poet.
Welcome to episode 76 of You're the Poet, the poetry podcast featuring you. I'm host Matt Burgio, and I'm here with co-host Phil Burgio. Phil, welcome.
Happy to be here.
Here at You're the Poet, our purpose is to share our love of poetry with the world and invite you to do the same. We want to start by saying thank you to all of our listeners who have made You're the Poet possible. We hope you enjoy the podcast and the poetry that is shared. If you've written any poetry and you want to share it here, whether you just have an interest in poetry, consider yourself an amateur poet, or are a professional poet with published works, contact us to be a guest on a future episode. Our featured guest for this episode of You're the Poet is Ronda McKenzie, who is joining us from Cincinnati, Ohio. Rhonda, welcome to You're the Poet.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're glad you could join us, and we look forward to your contribution to the episode. To start things off, I'm going to turn it over to Phil, who's going to share our classic poem for the episode.
This poem is from John Edward Masefield. He was born June 1st, 1878. He died May 12th, 1967. He was the English Poet Laureate from 1930 until his death, 1967. He's best known for his children's novels, Midnight Folks, and The Box of Delights, and for his poems Everlasting Mercy and the one I'm going to read today, Sea Fever. As always, there's more bio information on John Masefield, and you can pick that up on Wikipedia. Some of you might be familiar with this poem, because I was before I even found it. Sea Fever. I must go down to the seas again, to the lonely seas in the sky, and all I ask is a tall ship and a star to steer her by. And the wheels kick and the wind song and the white sails shaking, and a gray mist on the sea's face, and a gray dawn breaking. I must go down to the seas again, for the calls of the running tide is a wild call and a clear call that may not be denied. And all I ask is a windy day with the white clouds flying, and the flung spray and the blown spume, and the seagulls crying. I must go down to the sea again, to the vagrant gypsy life, to the gulls' ways and the whales' way, where the wind's like a whetted knife. And all I ask is a merry yarn from a laughing fellow rover, and quiet sleep and a sweet dream when the long trick's over. John Masefield.
All right, thank you. I don't think I've heard of John Masefield, at least not from memory. If I've heard of him, I have forgotten him.
If I remember, this poem might have been quoted in one of the Star Trek movies.
Oh.
I have to do some research on that.
Maybe Star Trek 4? I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I can't help with that one.
I don't blame you there. Yeah, I will say, though, having been on the water, my wife and I both love the water, and we go on any kind of boating trip that we can, and you'll hear me talk a little bit more about it when I get to my poem, but spent a lot of time the last couple of weeks staring at the ocean on a cruise, and the ocean and the seas do have this sort of longing and call to you, I think.
Oh, I definitely agree with that statement. As far as having a longing and a call, there's just the ocean for me and the water, just the vastness of it makes you feel so small, but it almost like it gives you just a sense of openness and freedom, just as you just stare. But there's so much openness, but then you can dial it down all the way to each individual little drop. And that's just amazing to me. I love, even in the poem, the detail as far as the gray mist on the sea's face and having the wind song along with it. It's very descriptive. I love being able to visualize that kind of stuff, and I love the ocean. So this one speaks to me.
All right. Well, from here, I'm going to share my poem, and as Phil and I often do, we tend to get a theme going sometimes, and usually not by design. It tends to just happen that way. But as I just mentioned, I was on a cruise. My wife and I did an Alaskan cruise, and I spent a lot of time either standing on our balcony or up on the upper deck just staring at the ocean and being surprised at this ocean that it wasn't big rolling waves. I don't know if it's because we were in the inside or interior passage, as they call it, up through Alaska, the islands, that it looked more just like rippling slate. And I was like just staring off into this endless sea of rippling slate, and it inspired this poem. And I took this form from the Poetry Porch Facebook group led by Shirley Rose, and she had put this prompt that she had found from Invisible Poets about the bocchetta, a form of poetry, but also just a Boketa is like a Japanese word for gazing out in with no specific meaning and whatnot. And then the poet Sarah McNulty took that and made a specific form where you took a 5-line stanza with the syllables being 7-7-4-5, and then a tercet or 3-line poem of 17 syllables broken up into a 7-7-3, and it's supposed to capture a moment in time. And so I thought, wanting to write a poem about my experience on the ship and staring into the sea, that was the perfect form for this. So I wrote this in Sarah McNulty's Boketa form. It's called Sea Gaze. A sparkling ocean of slate, whipped peaks dancing with the sun, an Aeolian meringue. A vast desert stretching on and on. A lone poet on the sea who stares across with wonder, finds a muse. Matthew Burgio.
Okay, I kind of like that.
Yeah, I like it.
I like the idea of the sea. And that's that style. I have to write a poem in that style now.
Yeah, I think it's something you would like in the haiku and the tanka.
I do like haikus and tankas.
But it reminded me of meringue whips. Like if you look at like a lemon meringue pie or something, but it was like these just like little peaks on the water instead of big rolling waves. So they were catching the sun. It just went on forever. I just stared off and rejuvenated the soul. All right. Well, from here, I'm going to turn it back over to Phil to share his poem for the episode.
Okay, this is another sea poem. I heard a sea shanty a while ago. I heard a sea shanty a while ago. It stirred feelings in my heart. I know not why, but it did so. But memories were there in part. I've never sailed the wine-dark sea, nor felt salt spray on my face. But still, memories came to me, nothing grand, but just a trace. Some would say from past life, or just dreams my mind's eye to see. Maybe cause of mental strife. Perhaps my thoughts just flowing free. What if memories are fast, genetic recall in one's DNA? Thoughts from an ancestor past, distant memories from afar. Now I long to board a craft, one powered by wind and sail, a trim ship from bow to aft, with masts to tame a fearsome gale. Philip Burgio.
All right, thank you.
Most of my exploits on the sea has been Lake Erie, which is kind of a sea.
Lake Erie feels very much like an ocean.
Especially when it gets angry, yeah.
And I've noticed that kayaking, I've done a lot of kayaking in various bodies of water, and you can always tell when you're on the large body of water. You can just feel the strength and power of it. For me, some of the examples of that have been like the ocean, of course. But Lake Erie is like that. When you're on Lake Erie, you can feel the power. The Ohio River was like that, and the Mississippi River were like that, where you could just feel the strength coming out of the water. But I like this. You talk about the memories of DNA, and they say that memories can be passed down, that there is some evidence of this sort of like DNA memory retention passed down through generations. So I think that's interesting.
I had thought about that years ago because I have recalled things, or you see things and you're like, I've been there before. I know that, blah, blah, blah. But you really can't believe in reincarnation. So it's got to be something. I'm thinking the DNA memories. And why not?
I like that. Why not?
For sure. All right. Well, from here, we're going to turn to our guest portion of the episode. Rhonda, you're the poet. Show us what you've got.
All right. This one's called 10 Million Acorns. It was written about a very good friend and mentor that passed away. Your legacy reminds me of that of an old oak tree, the trunk filled with patience and compassion, supporting the limbs as they grow and mature, optimism, encouragement, and joy never rationed. The limbs then support many branches in turn, more than the trunk or roots could ever know or see. Their support pure, unconditional, and unwavering, deriving from roots that are strong and run deep. By Ronda McKenzie.
All right. Thank you for sharing.
That's a great tribute to somebody who's passed over, friend of yours.
Yeah.
Great tribute.
Really good tribute. And I think it's fitting that you use the oak for its strength, and not just the strength, but like I say, the size of the tree, and that, not only does it drop leaves, but it drops acorns, which are very visible seeds as far as the outgrowth and influence. So very fitting there.
Yeah, definitely strong, kind of, unmoving, because that pretty much described him pretty well. And being able to read that in front of friends and family at the funeral, it just felt very fitting. Just because we were all there because of, this one person. And if it weren't for this one person in my life, I probably wouldn't even be here with you today. he was somebody that helped inspired my writing. So, yeah.
Beautiful.
All right. Well, before we read the next poem, tell us a little bit about your poetic journey and how you got into writing.
Well, I started writing when I was in 7th grade. It was the creator of all hand cramps, the English teacher that I had. She had us do all kinds of assignments, and a lot of it was poetry, and I grew to really love it. It was a short way for me to express myself. I didn't have to be specific if I didn't want to. I could be completely vague. It was my creation, and I loved that. And I've been writing since then. I used to have spouts where, you sit down and you can write 8 different poems about different things in, a day. And then there are times where I would go months without writing anything. So I have a lot of writing scattered throughout time, I guess you could say, in the house. So it's just something that is a fun, interesting way to connect with people because it's something that they've created. And I don't know, there's something a little bit more beautiful about it being from your heart that you've produced. And the fact that we are able to do that and to share these things with people who are doing the same and have the same passion. And yeah, I think, but mostly I probably love that I can be as vague or as specific as I want to be, lately at least.
I was just going to comment that I loved how you described that, especially a lot of our guests seem to get their inspiration for writing at that middle school age. I think that for that age group specifically, and you were talking middle school, high school, and, emotions are weird, hormones are weird, and,
yes,
people are discovering themselves. I like that concept or that realization that, you could be as vague as you want or as specific as you want, that poetry definitely lends itself to that array of feelings and, kind of gives you those options. I think that's great.
Yes.
And I also had to say, I think you're talking about that English teacher. I feel like there was a poem there. What did you say? Something of all hand cramps? Or
yes, she was the creator of all hand cramps.
Creator of all hand cramps. So that sounds like a poem or tribute poem right there.
Oh, yes. I got to write an intro of a book that is actually was being written about her by the person who died.
Oh.
The 10 Million Acorns. So I was given the opportunity to write the intro for that book, which unfortunately is not published, and he was still in the process of it. But it was about her. They worked together when I was in middle school, and they both very much had big impact on my writing. And yeah, if I could describe her, that's the most common one that I think others would also agree with, as far as being an English teacher with all of the essays and edits. Yes.
I think that's great.
Yeah, I think you should honor her with a poem about that.
Oh, I should.
Have you ever thought about publishing any of your work?
I have. I have a whole book, I have a binder of poems that I wrote throughout middle school, during those awkward times. And of course, that first love that just destroys you. So I've got plenty of those. But I think as far as honoring her, I think even if I were to get those published, I'd still have to continue on with more of the ones that I've written recently, because I'm still in contact with her too. And she's been monumental as far as encouraging and very supportive with any kind of writing endeavor. She's been, oh man, she whipped me into shape with that real quick in middle school.
Very cool.
But yeah, I'd love to.
Got another one for us?
I do. This one is more recent. This was written after my son's uncle on his dad's side killed himself on Halloween last year.
Oh.
And when I struggle with getting things out, I write. When I struggle with deep-seated emotions and just frustration and anger, rather than, physically doing something, I put it into writing. It's my way of helping cope. So this one was written as a way to cope with the unbearable thought of losing him. His name was Kyle. It's simply called Suicide. Today would have been deafening if hearts breaking could be heard. Familiar with your ongoing battle, but sometimes there were just no words. You thinking we'd be better off brings me to my knees. The pain you must have held, the agonizing internal pleas. I know all too well that the worst prison is your mind. Those close tried to help so many years, time after time. If there's any comfort from this, it's that your mind is finally at ease. I just wish there was something here that could have brought you peace. That's what I tell myself and the kids, that you're not in pain anymore. It's the only solace I can offer right now as we all beg for the day before. Half of us are still in shock while the other half is numb. Some are being strong for all. The ability to grieve has yet to come. They say death brings people closer as support, care, and love shines through. We all just wish the darkness wasn't the pain of losing you. By Ronda McKenzie.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
What can I say? That was kind of, one way to get out your grief and emotions.
Yes. I tend to write better when I'm tear-stricken and sobbing. That really, really comes from the heart.
It's amazing how much of a muse those feelings can be.
I have written a couple of poems like that where you drip in tears on the paper.
Yes.
Yeah.
And as heartbreaking as they can be, those are typically the ones that I feel like are the best. Just because you're just pouring your heart and soul into what you're writing, because there are no rules, there are no boundaries. You can be as vague and specific as you want. And anything that you do get out in that moment, it really helps. It's healing because you are expressing yourself, even if it's not to anyone, whether it's in you're grieving or you're numb. It's just a way to get something out so you're not just keeping everything bottled in.
Yeah, poetry is definitely good for that. And I was going to say, I was moved right from the beginning of this poem. That line, today would have been deafening if hearts breaking could be heard. I thought that was a powerful start to that poem.
Yeah. I think that was kind of what I was going for, just because of how abrupt everybody who knew Kyle's lives changed with the news. I tried to elicit a sense of like that ear-piercing deafness when something shatters, or when you're watching something and something, I don't know how to describe it, but just that moment where it's like you could hear a pin drop.
Very cool.
Would you share another poem with us? You feel up to it?
I have been feeling a little bit better, so I can go on and continue with the last one if you like.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Your poetry's great. I love it.
Thank you. That really means a lot to me. This one is also written about somebody who had died. This is actually my son's great-grandmother, who was more of a grandmother to me. She was a firecracker, man. Oh, so this is just one more day. There are absolutely no words to describe the way I miss you. You were uprooted from our lives, and there was nothing we could do. If only all you needed was a kidney or bone marrow, something we could give, I would have given anything if it meant you would have another day to live. I remember the day we met, every word you spoke to the letter. You made quite an impression, and since that day, it had only gotten better. I laughed to myself as I relived that moment. The profanity, the remark, and the smile on your face. I knew just then that you were one of those people who knew how to put others in their place. I think of you when I watch Twilight because I know you loved it too. And every time I hear the name Tom, I want to punch him just for you. I'll never forget the day I watched you put the toaster in the dishwasher. I tried to stop you, but you insisted. You proved me wrong, that's for sure. I still have your house key on my keychain. Taking it off never even crossed my mind. When I see it, I smile briefly, then sigh. It represents both you and memories combined. I miss your laughter, smile, and wit, your patience, love, and generosity. I miss your scare-me-to-death driving and your humble, ferocious personality. I smile for just a moment as reality comes crashing down. Empty, lost, and broken is how my heart feels now. I'll never again see that smile of yours, the one that lights up your whole face. I'll never again run to you crying, sobbing in your warm embrace. My tears collect on my pillow. I have no shoulder to cry on now. I know I have to move on with life, but the biggest question is how? I feel hollow, lifeless, and miserable. I'm here without purpose, it seems. I need you now more than ever. My life is falling apart at the seams. I talk to you every single day. I like to think you can hear me. I wish things hadn't ended this way. Tragedy, despite our prayers and pleas. I know I can't bring you back, but if I had just one more day, I'd never leave your side. And for that day, things would be okay. By Rhonda McKenzie.
All right. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Wow. You do a great job writing these tributes. And that one almost brought me to tears there.
It brought me to tears, but in a good way.
Yes.
It was, for what the subject was, it was still a bit uplifting, which was nice. Your great memories.
Yes.
There were definitely some parts that made you smile or made the reader smile, even, or the listener.
Yeah.
Nice things in there.
There are little nuggets in there of inside jokes. So whenever I hear the name Tom, I want to punch him just for you. It was, she dated a guy named Tom and he was great until he was just a jerk. And so she was a little firecracker. She wouldn't hold back. She would tell people exactly how it is. And if I could do anything for her, it would be if I ever see that guy, Tom, I would punch him just for her.
That's funny.
Yep.
Well, that's great. Like I said, great tribute, great poem.
Thank you.
You definitely, like you mentioned, I think anytime, kind of as you alluded to, that your emotions are deeply into something, I think some of our best poetry comes out, whether that's a sadness or even whether that's a passion or a joy. I think anytime we're deeply in it with the emotions, some of our best works come out.
I agree. Yeah.
I'm glad you shared a third poem with us.
Yeah, thank you.
Me too. Thanks.
Hope to see you back on the program again.
I think I can definitely manage that. This is definitely something that I love to do. And I write when emotions are overwhelming. At least that's when I write most often lately. So yeah, I have a couple that I've written within the past few weeks and they're exactly the same. Emotions just kick you in the face and you just got to get it out. So, yep.
Nice.
I really enjoyed being able to share those here with you guys and even hearing the different kinds of poems. I've never really looked into that. I've just always written pretty much in the same stanza with rhyming and stuff. So I'd love to eventually maybe try venturing out a little bit, but I'm pretty set in my ways. So who knows?
It's always fun to try new things. Like when I see a new form like the Spoketo, like I was like, I'll give that a shot. Especially like I was trading forms with Shirley Rose from Poetry Porch this past week, showing her a form that I've written some poetry in, and she shared a form that she came up with. And so I might talk about that more on the next episode. But before we move on, is there anything else you want to say about poetry or your poetic journey?
Just that if I didn't have poetry and writing as a form of personal expression, I don't think I would be the person that I am today. That's been just incredible as far as being able to put thoughts and feelings into words and convey that, whether to others, even looking back on things to myself, just as a form of learning, like, hey, I clearly was very much struggling with this during this time. And now looking back, but despite struggling through something, still being able to put those feelings into words, it was huge for me. And then having other people being able to read something and almost get the sense or feeling of it themselves, like they can truly feel what I was feeling by my writing. And that's something that I don't come across a lot. So I hope it means as much to others as my writings do to me.
And you never know who your poetry will affect and who will attach onto it. I mean, even listening to your last poem, that just one more day, I had thoughts of my mother going through my head. So, I mean, you never know how your listener or reader will react to it. And it could be something totally different than you intended. You just never know.
Yeah.
Poetry speaks to us all a little differently, I think.
Yeah. I love that writing in general is something that's universal. And you don't have to be a writer to write. You don't have to be a poet to write poetry. And you can make things your own. And that's probably one of the best things about it for me.
But once you write a poem, you're a poet. Even if it's just one poem. One poem makes you a poet.
That's true. I agree.
We always try to convey that here. So listeners out there, if you've written any poetry, even if it's a haiku, and you're interested in sharing it with the world, let us know.
Please share.
All right, well, as we move on, I don't have any feedback for the episode, but I did want to make note since we talked about suicide and make a note about suicide prevention out there. If you or a loved one are having thoughts of suicide, please call or text the national 988 Lifeline by dialing 988. You can also chat with 988 by logging on to 988lifeline.org. 988 is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So if there's anything you're struggling with and need to talk to somebody, please check that out. There is support out there for you. And if you know anyone struggling with suicidal thoughts, please share that information with them. And as we wrap things up, we want to let our listeners know we're grateful that you've taken the time to tune in. We hope you're enjoying the poetry shared here. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the podcast and share it with others. If you would like to support You're the Poet and what we're doing here, there are a couple of ways to help. You can find links on our website to our Buy Me a Coffee patron site, as well as our You're the Poet store, where you can buy You're the Poet merchandise and share your love of poetry with the world. Thank you for your support as we continue to grow. Please check out our website and various social media outlets to keep up to date with You're the Poet. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and our website, you'rethepoet.com. To inquire about the podcast and being a guest, or to send us feedback on an episode, send us an email to host@you'rethepoet.com. Until next time, Phil, thanks for joining us.
Anytime.
Rhonda, thank you for being our guest.
Of course. Great to be here.
Yeah, thank you to you both. Goodbye.